issue. We're joined now and pleased to be joined by retired Army General Paul Vallely. Paul is currently the chairman of Stand Up America. And General Vallely, as always, it is great to see you and great to speak with you.
Thank you, John.
All right, General Vallely joining us from Montana today. And General, where is Mike Rogers? You talked about this a little bit. He released this report late on a Friday afternoon. Some folks say it was a dump. The committee chairman, he is no longer going to be in office come January, but he has not been out there to defend this report either.
Well, it was a Friday afternoon dump, and it certainly should be put in the dump pile. As Senator Graham said, I'm a member of the Benghazi Citizens Commission out of Washington, along with Accuracy in Media and Judicial Watch. And I can tell you our investigation over the last year and a half completely will debunk the House Intelligence Report by Mike Rogers and Ruppersberger. I think they're complicit in the cover-up here, and I think when you see what happened before Benghazi, on the date of Benghazi, and afterwards, and the stand-down orders that 3 members of the annex got that were with those brave Americans that were killed there at the annex. So our report will be coming out probably in about 2 hours, John, and I'll make sure that Newsmax gets a copy of it this morning.
And we will follow up with that. General, when I talked to those 3 contractors, those operators who were there that night, Mark Geis, John Teagan, and Chris Peranto, they were shocked by how light the security was at the diplomatic compound and around Benghazi for having an ambassador there on the premises. Why was the security so light?
Well, I think they cut it back, a month or month and a half before that when we had a special operations detachment over there. But when they looked at cutting back and not having the sense of what the threat was there, especially the State Department, and goes back all the way to Hillary Clinton, that they were not on top of their game in providing security for our ambassador there and the people. And they were, in fact, engaged over there in an arms transaction deal. And we have proof of that, too. So lots of things were going on, but that area was not secure for our people.
And we saw some reporting from the Associated Press. We talked about this, and the report indicates that there was no running of guns through Libya to Syria, but you don't buy that for a second.
Well, no, we've actually interrogated the gentleman who was involved in the arms transaction. So, I mean, why cover all this stuff up for the American people? There's got to be more behind this.
And that's really the thing here, too, General, for a lot of civilians and folks that want to make sure that nothing like this happens again. The question, I guess, is why? Why would they try to cover this up?
Well, it's, you can look at Fast and Furious, you can look at the IRS, it seems that's their modus operandi. Do things behind the back of the American people, then when they're confronted with it, they seem to cover it up. It's a pattern there, John, in this administration, and it's horrible that America's got to this point.
And what's unsettling, I think, for a lot of folks is because you might expect that, given everything you just mentioned there from the administration, but from a Republican-led House committee, you wouldn't expect that.
Well, you wouldn't, but that's why we think Mike Rogers, even John Boehner to a degree, who really didn't want this select committee, but really were forced into it, much by our Citizens Commission, that they go forward. Now, Trey Gowdy does have all the information, and once he starts the interviews and the hearings, his second one, which I think will be around the second week of December, needs to get to the bottom of this, but it's going to completely debunk that report that came out last Friday by Mike Rogers. Mike's going to be very embarrassed that he came out with this report.
Well, let me ask you this before we step aside for a short commercial break, before we continue the conversation. Has Mike Rogers done a disservice to Trey Gowdy with this report?
Oh, absolutely.
And I guess more importantly to the people who were there that night and the folks that lost their lives.
Well, absolutely. And that's why I say our report is going to be very complete this morning. And I think once you go over it, you'll see that we've debunked everything that committee came out with, the Intelligence Committee under Mike Rogers and Dutch Ruppersberger from Maryland. I mean, this is an absolute embarrassment.
Well, an absolute embarrassment. You're not the only one to say that, General. We're going to ask you to stick around. We're going to come right back and talk about what's ahead for the Pentagon after the announcement that Chuck Hagel will be stepping down as the Secretary of Defense. General Paul Vallely will be back with us. John Bachman here sitting in for J.D. Hayward today. Please stick around. Much more to come here on America's Forum right after this.